Good morning, SBI community. Welcome to this week's small group, life group session. And we're continuing our journey through the Exodus and God delivering His people out of Egypt into the Promised Land, and how we can learn from this experience of these people of how we walk with God and the paths of discipleship. And so today, the title of our small group time is Getting Out of Egypt, or Getting Egypt Out. And so you'll find out what that means today. I just wrote the title like 30 seconds ago. So with that, I kind of want to go over what we've seen so far. So over this time since we first started until now, we've seen the Israelites be enslaved by Egypt for 400 years, right? And then Moses is called out of the wilderness to deliver them with a mighty hand and outstretched arm. God sends the 10 plagues and basically shows the world that their God, Pharaoh, wasn't really a God, and that the true God was the one who had control over everything. And so after the final plague and the Passover, they are released, set free. They're leaving Egypt, led by a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night. They get to the waters of the Red Sea, trapped, all is lost. Then God comes and rescues them through water, through the Red Sea. And then they get to the other side. God is providing for them with manna from heaven, right? Bread, water, quail, water from a rock. And it's said that they had an angel appointed to them to guide them, and they look to this angel to guide them through wherever they're going. And so it's here, this part of the story, they've been up. Moses has gone up, 10 commandments, come back down, where we get to Numbers 14, verses 1 through 4. And this is a continuation part of the story where the Israelites are ready to enter into the Promised Land. Some people come and tell them what's all going on there, and they grumble. And so that night, all the members of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole assembly said to them, "If only we had died in Egypt, or in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt?" And they said to each other, "We should choose a leader and go back to Egypt." After this, right, we get hindsight perspective. We get a look at their whole life from above and say, "Oh, what were they doing? What were they thinking?" They would see even more miraculous things if they had entered into the Promised Land. But what we're going to be focusing on isn't the Promised Land, isn't what the Israelites saw and what they feared and trembled, but it's what they reverted to. It's where they went to when times got hard. They had seen God do incredible things, and we'll get to those a little bit later. But when push came to shove, when hard times came, when they needed that crutch, when they were stressed or anxious, where did they turn to? They wanted to go back to Egypt. Now, Egypt, right, going now might be a nice tourist place, but for these people, it was slavery. They're like, we need to get out of here. We need to go back to slavery, right, where people owned us, where they whipped us, where they killed our children, where they wouldn't allow us to leave, right? This is being owned by someone else. And in fact, this theme of wanting to go back to Egypt comes up numerous times, and 14 documented times in the Exodus time. There were moments where the Israelites says, "Wouldn't life be better for us in Egypt? Let's go back." 14 times of that is documented, that they wanted their slavery again. Now, the title of this is Getting Egypt Out of Us, right? We all have Egypt in us. They had Egypt in us. And so, who are these people who want to go back to slavery? They're witnesses. These people saw God's presence on a mountain, thunder and lightning, and they said, "You know what? We don't want to go up. We'll send Moses up by himself." Right? These people will see the earth opened up and swallow people who disobey. They saw water turned into blood, right? They saw an angel. They saw Moses when he came down from the mountain, from meeting with God. His face was shining with so much glory. They asked him, "Put a bag on your head so we won't be blinded by it." Right? They saw a tent being built, and then God's presence coming down like a zap of just holiness, right? And every morning, they woke up to food for lunch, breakfast, and supper every single day, waiting for them on the ground. They didn't have to work for food. And it turns out it was probably pretty good food. God made it. These people who had every reason to say, yeah, I believe in God, they reverted back to their old sin, their old slavery, time after time. Because Egypt, in a sense, still has their heart. Right? God won the victory. He won the battle. He delivered them. He's bringing them into the promised land. He's atoning them. He's liberating them day by day. However, deep in the crevices of who they were, there was something that still longed for their sin, for their old way of life, and that is us. Right? Isn't that true for you? You have been won and redeemed, yet hard times come, the lights go out, it's dark. What do you revert back to? Where do you run to when things are hard? Is it the arms of the God who has done so much for you? Or is it on your own? Sorry, I might not be speaking into the microphone. I'm sorry about that. The truth is, this is what Isaiah said to the Israelites, and Jesus said to the religious leaders at the time, and it's true for us, and it's true for these people back then. But these people, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. God can deliver these Israelites physically out of the promised land, but physical actions don't mean your heart is fully won to the Lord. And even if your heart is fully won to the Lord, it's still a battle day by day. Satan's wanting to get you. For you, your heart is the thing that matters more than the actions that come or the lips that come out of your, or the words that come out of your lips. God wants your heart. So, why do we want God? What is the benefit of this to us? And in Matthew 13, verses 44 through 46, this is how Jesus describes our life, our need. And it is described this way. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. This is what it looks like for a heart to be won, lips to be won by God, to be forever in His presence, in His peace. And so when Jesus says your hearts are far from me, it's because our hearts have lost the treasure which is God. Our eyes have been focused on other things. When hard times come, we don't realize we have everything we need right now. And this treasure, right, is worth everything we have. Selling it all, running to it, without anything else. And Paul, you might say, well, this is nice, I just need to love God more, and it's going to be hard. Well, Paul says it's impossible without the Holy Spirit. And he says this in Romans 7. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that it is in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Holding up a mirror in front of us saying, this is what we long for. We want this treasure, yet we, in our sinful nature, our DNA, sinful. We keep reverting back to those things that we don't want to do because we have experienced this treasure. We have seen God's presence just like the Israelites. And so, this is my challenge for you in this, right? It is about waking up every day and daily being reborn, baptized into what Jesus has done in the gospel and the good news. So every day we need to remind ourselves, whether that's in your devotion time, whether that's with friends, reminding each other what Jesus has done, the gospel, dying for you, taking up a cross for your sake, and delivering you from your slavery. And then every day taking time to focus our eyes on Him, seeking Him as our greatest treasure, doing everything before His eyes, and then every day seeking the Lord's help, because we know, just like Paul wrote, we're going to try to do good, but even the good that we think we can do, right, we can't do because of our sinful nature. And so, asking the Lord to continuously rid us of our old slavery. With your groups, take time. I know this is longer than I wanted it to be, but take time to answer these two questions. Discuss with each other. Pause the video if you need to. Pause it. And then finish your time in prayer.